So you've been meaning to tell me something.
Phil Lindeman, Crystal 93 News Director, in the studio today with Dewey Paul, local musician, and we are talking local bands for this Summit Local Band Showcase. Dewey, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to have you in here, and I understand you just got back from a European tour, something that you've been making an annual trip out of. Where'd you head to?
Well, I did 4 shows in Ireland, 3 in Scotland. I played in Bath, England, and Paris, France. And then at the end of the tour, I just took a little leisure time in Berlin, Germany.
Oh, had some time to actually explore Europe a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I've been over there a few times now. So.
Okay, great. How long have you been doing those European summer tours?
Well, this was the 2nd in a row, but it's about the 5th time I've been over there.
Great, 5th time. What do you like about, getting outside of the country to go play?
Well, for one thing, the European audiences really listen to every word and every note you play musically, and they really appreciate American artists a lot. So, that's a big plus.
That would be kind of a strange experience. Is it strange when you come to an audience and you realize that
they're listening?
Wow, these guys are here not to just drink beers and get hammered or whatever it is that they're doing, but they're actually here to
Yeah, the first time it was kind of strange, but I've gotten used to it now. I really enjoy it.
And for those who aren't familiar with your music, what kind of music do you play? How would you...
I consider Americana. Okay. It's based in a lot of roots. When I do covers, I'm doing a lot of Bob Dylan or Van Morrison, J.J. Cale, that sort of stuff.
And when you're doing original stuff, still that same sort of sound?
I like to think so,
yeah.
Especially with the songwriting. I like to think that it's influenced by all those people.
Yeah, and what kind of songwriting do you do? What kind of topics attract you, and what kind of things do you tend to be working into lyrics?
Well, everything's autobiographical, so it's all things I've experienced or people close to me have experienced, and in one way or another has inspired me to write about it.
You've been playing or living here in town for over a decade, 11 years?
Yeah, I've been up in Summit for 11 years. I was in Denver for quite some time before that, and prior to that, I lived all over the country.
And always chasing music, though.
Yeah, everything. It's always had to do with music or sound or production or promotions or concerts. Yeah.
Great. And has your sound changed over time?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially up here in Summit.
I'd imagine. Well, so give us a taste. What kind of music were you making, a decade ago, 15 years ago? Well,
I would just say that I didn't have enough experience. I wasn't as good as I've gotten, and that, but being influenced by the musicians up here in Summit. One in particular, Arnie J. Green. He was one of my mentors musically and really helped me develop my sound a lot more just by being around him. And being around better talent over the years makes you a better performer. It makes you more aware of what you're doing, and better writer, singer, all of those things. And
are you a big fan of the Summit music scene? Do you think this is a great place for people to really grow?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been getting better and better. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it.
Great. And of course, it always surprises me how eclectic the scene is up here, because a lot of people assume it's bluegrass and jam and acoustic or covers at a patio somewhere where people are drinking beers. But it goes beyond that. There's quite a bit of influence out there. What kind of music do you find yourself listening to just in general? When you're not playing or when you're not out catching
jazz.
Jazz.
I love jazz. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to a lot of old jazz stuff. Yeah. Or Van Morrison, and some of those influences I like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, getting
the
deep
classics.
Into that classic musical sort of stuff, the musicality sort of stuff. Yeah. And what instruments do you play when you're out, performing?
Well, I play guitar on stage mostly, but in the studio I can play all the instruments. So.
Okay. Got one that's a favorite outside of guitar?
Yeah, keys probably.
Always played keyboard, or is that something that came later in life?
Actually, I played keys first. When I was 9, I played keys in school, and then started playing guitar about the same time. But keys was my first instrument.
When did
piano.
Yeah, and when did you get into performing? When did you start really doing gigs?
Probably not till I was about 17. Then I started taking things a little bit more seriously, and then into my 20s, way more.
When you were young, when you were first getting into the playing, especially gigs, who were the people that you were looking up to? Were there any particular musicians that you would, find yourself kind of leaning on as mentors or anything like that?
Well, the scene, when I started performing out live, I guess I was working a lot backstage. So I had worked for Bill Graham out in San Francisco, so I was involved with the Grateful Dead a lot, and the Allman Brothers and Blues Traveler, and really all the beginnings of that jam band scene. So I was around a lot of those people at that time.
So you got a little bit of a background in, working backstage, working all sides of music. You still do that these days?
Yeah, I do. Mostly for the Goat Soup and Whiskey. I handle all the band bookings over there and all the promotion and production.
Very cool. What do you like about still being, inside of the music industry on a local level? What do you like about, working both sides, playing gigs, but also setting gigs up, but also working with bands?
Well, I love it. I mean, most of my entire career and background has been in concert production on big levels, working for the Pepsi Center and Bill Graham, all those years ago, and even putting on my own music festivals. Working on a local level is much easier. There's a lot less stress, and you get to know everybody, and you're part of the community, and giving back in that community is just a great thing.
It really does feel like, the community is a little smaller. You kind of know everybody instead of,
it's not a stuffy corporate environment.
Yeah, not a stuffy corporate environment, and not, artists who are holier than thou. They show up, they play their gig, and they get out of there. It's kind of nice to have, those people who stick around and who know, the faces there in the crowd. And the crowd knows them back too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have some good names that play over the Goat, and even when they come in, this is what it is, and they love it for what it is. They absolutely feel at home there. And
yeah, right now. Well, speaking of that, who is inspiring, or who do you really like in the local music scene? Who are you a fan of?
Well, big fan of Leon Littlebird, of course. He's one of my favorites. I love playing with him and writing songs together, and of course John Truselli and Jess Rose and. All those people. Everybody you see around, Bo Thomas. We've got a really good music scene here. Frisco Funk Collective, shout out.
And you brought the guitar in today. You were going to play a piece for us. Now tell us what you had in mind.
Well, I'm going to play a song I put out on an acoustic solo record last year. It's called Struggling.
You've been wondering just where I've been. Well, I've been struggling to ease the pain. If you've been looking for bright sunny days, well, I've been struggling for the rain. And it's not as bad as it would seem, and it sure ain't as good as it could be, but it just don't seem right to live this life in spite of the sacrifice behind my disguise. And you got me thinking about who I really am, but I've been struggling to understand. And you got me feeling like, well, I could change the world, but I've been struggling on this deserted island. And it's not as bad as it would seem, like a dagger through the heart, and it sure ain't as good as it could be, like a candle in the dark, but it just don't seem right, no, to live this life in spite of the sacrifice behind my disguise. And for all them things left undone, left unsaid and left undone, unsung, baby. Or may your struggle become the very thing that sets you free. So here we are now, it's all out in the open. No more struggling to play the game. Some days it's all sunshine and wine, some days it's just ashes and rain. no more struggling for the pain. Oh, it's not as bad as it would seem, like a dagger through the heart, and it sure ain't as good as it could be, like a candle in the dark. Oh, just ain't right, no, 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 to live this life. No, 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 no. It's not as bad as it would seem, and it sure ain't as good as it could be, but it just don't seem right to live this life in spite of the sacrifice behind my disguise.
Dewey Paul was struggling here at the Crystal 93 studio. Thank you, Dewey. That was fantastic. Now, how old is that song? When did you first write it?
It's fairly recent. It's within the past couple years.
Okay, great. And when you play your catalog, how deep are we going? Are you going 5 years, 10 years, 15 years on some of these songs?
More than that, actually.
Yeah.
I put my first recording out in 1995. And I was writing songs way back, even as a late teenager, and some of those songs I still play today.
Yeah, and still playing some of those songs, too.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. And you also, along with writing music, writing lyrics, touring around, you also have a memoir, Bohemian Ghosts. Tell us a little bit about Bohemian Ghosts and how that came about.
Sure. Well, I was really fortunate when I was young, and as a teenager, I went out and hit the road following the Grateful Dead around. And next thing you know, I got a job working for the promoter, Bill Graham. And all of these amazing things were happening to me at a really young age, so I journaled a lot about everything back then and wanted to write a book about it and all these crazy, wild romp experiences. It's very Kerouac-like, you know, all the things that happened to me back then and leads up to more modern times. But, yeah, that's what kind of inspired all that.
When did you write the memoir? When was it finished?
It took me 20 years to writ it. So I was,
one of those long projects.
Yeah, I was writing it all along, and then it's a funny story. When I finished the book, it felt like it was done, and my computer died, and I lost everything. I had the master. Everything I'd written was gone.
You're kidding me.
I'm
That's
not
one
kidding.
of those like absolute ultimate nightmares for somebody who's writing. Yeah.
Absolutely. The hard drive failed, and it couldn't be retrieved, and I literally rewrote the whole thing from scratch and from memory and from all my notes, and I think it came out better this time around.
Hopefully, yeah, right. Hopefully it comes out better than the original one. Well, I understand, I'm a writer as well, and yeah, that's one of my ultimate fears is that one day my computer will crash or a flash drive will get lost in 3 different places, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then finally, where can people find you touring, or not touring, but playing here locally? Where do you tend to play?
Every Wednesday I play at the Lake Dillon Tavern, and every Thursday at the Moose Jaw in Frisco. And both those nights are open stage jams, so people can come along and get up and play as well. And I've got some shows coming up with Dewey Paul Band this Saturday night, August 4th, at the Goat Soup and Whiskey, and August 25th, later in the month, at the Snake River Saloon. And also keep an eye out for me at Angry James Brewery.
Playing all over the place. And, of course, like you said, some of those other concerts, like the Moose Jaw, that's open. Come on out.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring your guitar.
What kind of stuff do you tend to like to play with other people? Or what kind of stuff do people bring to you when you're playing some of those open gigs?
It's a lot of fun. They're very eclectic. We have a lot of great performers in the area and a lot of people passing through. There's people from Europe that come over, that'll be traveling through, and they've come up and bring a guitar and have a good time and give us a bit of their culture.
Yeah, very cool. Well, you'll have to go out and check those shows. Like you were saying, every Wednesday over at Lake Dillon Tavern through the summer, or is that year-round?
Yeah, year-round.
Year-round.
When I'm not out on tour.
Great. Every Wednesday over at Lake Dillon Tavern and every Thursday at the Moose Jaw. You can find Dewey Paul, local musician right here in town. Thanks again for coming into the studio, Dewey.
Oh, thanks. This has been fun.
Yeah, great to have you. Dewey Paul on Crystal 93.
All the rest, live it like you mean it, show me that you're true. I'll be the one who'll be there for you. Come on, give a little more, take a little less. Don't waste your time on all the rest. Live it like you mean it, show me that you're true. I'll be the one who'll be there.